really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Claude from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5.
All right, so we get started with the good news regarding Alec Pierce today. I would look at that as good news. Now, we live in a world here where, again, as I mentioned to Jake in the crossover, brought to you by Love Heating and Air, that you're not going to find any positivity with this group until you see the results of it. And what I mean by that is not even the 10 weeks of a year ago before the injury to Daniel Jones, you are not still willing to believe that that is real for the entirety of a season because it didn't happen over the course of the season and it didn't lead to results. That was the issue. And that's still going to be the issue until they prove it. And I mean prove it on the field and prove it for a longer period of time. There is a lot going on here. I'm going to run over some of the more significant signings. Players changing over the weekend. You had Zaire Franklin going to Green Bay. Max Crosby ending up with the Ravens. But most significantly today, the Colts ended up doing something that they had to do. And that was bringing back Alec Pierce. It is, without a doubt, a significant number. And it probably was going to – they were probably going to lose Michael Pittman Jr. anyway. But Michael Pittman Jr. gets dealt to the Steelers 3 years, $59 million extension that he ended up getting in Pittsburgh. I believe that opens up $24 million in cap space with that deal for the Colts. Meantime, the biggest target that was going to be on the open market is that of Alec Pierce. 4-year, $116. And I have often heard about how he's not worth it. They had to do it. Just like they have to do this with Daniel Jones. Before you say Kyler Murray or anybody else, and some of these, we'll go over all of them, are already in new destinations. But it's just not feasible considering that and the relationship and what materialized with Daniel Jones. I understand why you're apprehensive believing any positivity for a full-on season with this group, but they sold you on what the first 10 weeks of the season was a year ago, being legit, being real. They sold you on that, and they kept everybody around. And they made us use those terms again that we have been worn out on over the years, and that is run it back. They're going to run it back. They decided to run it back with Chris Ballard again, with Shane Steichen again, with basically everybody all over again. You had no choice. You can't run it all back, and then the most significant reason as to why you start the season offensively as well as you did, let him go someplace else. You can't have that. Alas, as they had talked about the entirety of the time, whether it was Shane with me or Chris with the morning show going back a couple of weeks ago to the Combine, this is what they wanted to do, and this is what they're doing. They're still evidently in the process of coming to or finding even ground, I guess, reported concrete even ground with Daniel Jones as his representation. Yeah, I don't know if anybody is truly going to buy what they're selling until you see the whole season results. But your only other option was rebuilding, and that ship sailed when you made the decisions that you made. When you decided to go this direction, and you can even go all the way back, if you like, to the NFL trade deadline and Sauce Gardner, when you decided to go this direction, that is when you decided to bring back Alec Pierce, to bring back Daniel Jones. Dan Graziano is going to join us coming up here at the bottom of the hour. That's good. We'll find out a little bit more regarding the NFL and free agency. There's a lot more going on around us than just here. The only other layer that maybe I have missed so far is Neville Gallimore looked like that he had some future going on. He showed some signs, right? If you're really looking for those particular signs, 2 year and $12 million with the Bears for Neville Gallimore. And then obviously the Michael Pittman Jr. news is substantial, but something you knew. And I would be ready for other stuff to happen too. But there was zero alternative in the matter. And even if you don't believe it, and they have to believe, the other part about it is, if you don't bring it, you sell everybody on your belief, yet you're also working with, presumably, the most lame of the lame duck situations of anybody out there in the NFL going into this season. Hey, you have to. There is zero alternative. $24 million is what will open up by virtue of Michael Pittman Jr. being traded to the Steelers. So you'd have to think that with the selections they do have outside of the first round realm, that there will be a concentration, I would guess, on the wide receiver position, or you're just going to bring in somebody else. You knew the likelihood of Michael Pittman Jr. was going to be there anyway, just even before you knew the amount of money that Alec Pierce was going to get. Yeah, sure, you look at what he did a year ago compared to what he earned, that's market value, everybody. But he is as important as anybody on this team. Consider this, too. This is a dynamic that's on the field. Daniel Jones is your quarterback. And we saw them trying to save with the transition tag about $6 million in that entire process. And we'll see about a longer-term situation forthcoming. But with Daniel Jones, his downfield threat with his arm is based upon the presence of Alec Pierce. That's where it's created. Malik Willis, quarterback, did a great job, by the way, in Green Bay as a backup a couple of different times for Jordan Love. You knew he was going to get some interest. He did. He ends up with the Miami Dolphins. Tight end Isaiah Likely. Going with somebody that he knows, former coach with the Giants. 3-year deal for the former Ravens tight end. Just going over some of the things. Well, Demario Davis with the Jets. The Jets have been a little bit active today. Maybe the biggest news, just because we know him being there as long as he has been there, is that of Mike Evans. And Mike Evans, even at a robust type of age, looks like he still has something left in the tank. So Mike Evans, moving on. I saw where Travis Etienne, former Jaguars running back, going to the Saints. What's this in here? Wan'Dale Robinson, the wide receiver, is going to go and get balls thrown to him by Cam Ward down in Tennessee. That took place within the last hour. I'm sure Jake went all over a lot of these too, but the ones that really have of importance, certainly to the Colts, and then the bigger stories, that certainly of 6-time Pro Bowler Mike Evans. 3-year deal with the 49ers. Tyler Linderbaum was a guy that you knew was going to get big money. Record deal with the Raiders. So inbound at some point you would expect with Fernando Mendoza. And the book on Mike Evans with the Bucs, 12 seasons, 6-time Pro Bowler, over 13,000 receiving yards and 108 touchdowns. And he is going to San Francisco. And James, you keep track of a lot of this stuff that's going on too. Sometimes this will get a little bit out of hand, but it seems to have slowed down just a little bit in the afternoon. But certainly the biggest impact is that of here. And again, Alec Pierce is back. I gave you the numbers on that. We await anything more definite, more definitive, longer term with that of Daniel Jones, the quarterback, because that is definitely the expectation. You have Michael Pittman Jr. getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers and then getting extended with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is a cap space savings for the Colts, who had to get under the cap anyway. And there'll probably be more cap casualty type of situations that we'll talk about. Neville Gallimore going to the Bears for a couple of years on a free agent deal. And then over the weekend, Zaire Franklin traded to the Green Bay Packers. And really, that was probably the easiest of them to do. In terms of what is probably no argument, it was a great draft selection considering what his resume would read. Couple of Pro Bowls, linebacker position, team leader in tackles. But it was the easiest decision to make considering how and where this defense was going. Younger legs at linebacker, and then the fact most people, and this is what happens when you don't live up to expectations, when you have disappointment, everything in the world is going to be placed under the microscope. And the podcast and the off-the-field stuff, I think people around here had long since grown tired of that for the most part. And that was probably the easiest of the easy to end up getting done. And then Zaire Franklin, former Colts linebacker, going to Green Bay. Yeah, 8 years here. Led the NFL in tackles back in 2024. Colby Wooden is the guy, the defensive tackle who was rotational for the Packers. I think 16 games he was a part of and will be rotational here. A couple of things that stand out. If you're going to ask me what I would like to see them try to do, if you could do, because clearly you have to for the lame duck folks that are there. You have to for the organization. And let's just say you have to for Colts fans' morale, because this is as downtrodden as I can remember this fan base. Non-believer on anything. It actually has to happen before you, right in front of your eyeballs for you to buy anything. So this can all happen, and you can be excited momentarily for it, but then once you see it on the field, that's the only thing that's going to matter, and the results are the only thing in this case that are going to matter. But you have a general manager, you have a head coach, basically a staff, that it is important that you show some signs, and you get back to the postseason. And it is not going to be easy, considering the AFC South and considering the AFC. And really, as I mentioned, you're just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping that Daniel Jones is going to be the same Daniel Jones that he was. And then, oh, by the way, coming back from injury. And then, oh, by the way, a guy that has had a considerable amount of injuries through his first handful of seasons in the NFL. So there's still going to be a lot of hoping. But to show you is what is going to be of the utmost importance. We shall continue to follow that story and stories just like that regarding the Colts and the rest of the NFL. Yeah, as I mentioned, too, James has told me from ESPN, Dan Graziano is going to join us coming up here at the bottom of the hour. We're going to go over a lot of these deals and his thoughts on how this pertains to the Colts, the direction they're going, and ultimately, when and if we're going to see something solidified longer term regarding Daniel Jones. Dan Graziano, bottom of the hour. Charles Arbuckle is going to join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. The former Colts tight end, Stephen Holder of ESPN, is in the 5 o'clock hour. I should mention regarding Malik Willis, who once upon a time was in Tennessee, ended up as the backup in Green Bay, and now is going to Miami. $45 million fully guaranteed. Can you imagine, had you been told that maybe 2 years ago? You'd have thought, what? Crazy. True story right there. And a lot of defensive player movement, too. Yeah, a little bit more coming at you regarding that. I should get to a little college basketball as well. I tell you, as disappointing as the Colts have been, how about this college basketball season here? And I know that it's tough. You're talking about a Purdue team that is still a 3 seed, but they were the preseason number 1. And to say anything less with all the home losses and finishing, 6th in the Big Ten this season, and getting a 7 seed in the Big Ten Conference Tournament, there is no other way to look at this than utter disappointment. Now, I will tell you, most Boilermaker fans were waiting on this time of year to accurately gauge what took place this season anyway, but it is not like the precursor has been anything at all to leave Boilermaker fans happy, and yet another situation on Saturday where the biggest issue they have is they can't guard you guys. They cannot guard you guys. And you have to be guardable. You guys are very guardable. You give up 97 points. First of all, you're thinking when you give up 52 at Mackey on senior day with this group in the first half, you give up 5-2 offensively, that the riot act is going to be read or some asses are going to get into. And I'm not just talking about from the coach and Matt Payne. I'm talking about from the players. That is an awful defensive effort under those circumstances. I know that we have seen some of these senior days, like last night in Nebraska, they had to survive Iowa after gagging away a lead in regulation. They had to survive that in overtime. But the Boilermakers with this group, they are not supposed to go out like that. And the problem that I have with them is far from the offense. They put up 93, which you would expect, but you give up 52 in the first half and then 45 in the second. That's not a great improvement. And therein lies the issue. I hate to say this because this is where we are. But this team is going to have some considerable good fortune. Now, you're going to get the winner if you're Purdue of IU and the winner of Penn State and Northwestern. You need to see the Boilermakers take off and get a little something going. But the problem remains, the defense has been the biggest issue. At times it's been the glass, don't get me wrong, but the defense has been the biggest issue. And unless it's the right matchup, I don't know when it's going to cease being the biggest issue. I don't know when all of a sudden that's going to stop. Maybe one of these days. But it seems like to me, the Boilermakers advance if you find the right matchup. But what is the right matchup? I mean, defense for a song right now. For a group on the most highly anticipated senior day with a group of Boilermakers. And that is the defensive effort that you get. It's easy for me to sit here and say, well, you know what? You got to move your feet and you got to communicate. Maybe they're just not good at it. Maybe they do have to outscore. Maybe they do have to find or hopefully be fortunate enough to get the matchup that is necessary, because that's not going to work. Man, that's not going to work at all. I absolutely hate the way, because that is a fun group. They have been enjoyable to hell to watch. But them going out that way on senior day in West Lafayette at Mackey on Saturday was terrible. And this is not a solution to where, well, one more pass and, knock down some shots. Maybe you get yourself to the free throw line, execute a little bit better on offense. They can't stay in front of you. And I don't feel good about really anybody out there staying in front of anybody. It's not like, well, you know what, if you get the right matchup. No, there's nobody out there that you really feel good about defensively. More times than not, everybody on that floor is a blow-by. Meantime, IU, a 91-78 loser on the road at Ohio State. Significant work needs to be done that I don't think anybody out there expects whatsoever from this team going to Chicago. Again, they'll get the winner of Penn State and Northwestern in the bracket. I've been really disappointed. I know that it's the first year, and he didn't get guys that he wanted. Did you get anybody that you wanted? This is the group that you got with the money. And the problem that you're going to have, this may be a, hey, pat on the back, it's okay, and you're year number one. The football team just won a national championship, but yeah, how long is that goodwill and love going to last? Especially if the head coach continues to say after every game that our guys played really hard, but what? But what? I mean, we could all go out there and play really hard, but you have a game that you basically have to win. Get your doors blown off. You have a game at home against Northwestern, you get beat. Yeah, you play hard, but I know the expectations are wild, but I'm sorry. Hey, welcome to the world of Indiana basketball. How long have you guys lived here? I'm sorry, how many years, how many coaches have you been down this path? I think the only thing that would get more than a ripple if this were Mike Woodson's team right now. The reason why there's really no blowback is because of what the football team did. Now, if Mike Woodson were still here, even what the football team would have done, it would receive more than just a ripple. Lofty, ridiculous expectations aside, you got to be better than that. You got to be better than losing at home to Northwestern, don't you? You still spend a lot of money. And I'm even beyond arguing about it. I have no idea. Trent Sisley evidently is one of the most highly touted worst players of all time. My man, he gets nothing in life. He's like Spalding. Trent Spalding, you'll get nothing and like it. No clock for you at all. Oh, I'm sure he would be nothing just but a road cone, but still, damn. You're playing all these other guys, and there are a bunch of road cones out there. Your son's a road cone. I guess occasionally he can score. Yeah, I did enjoy yesterday. Northern Iowa is always that team that whatever reason you get to St. Louis and they start knocking down a high volume of threes. You talk about a shot-making contest for like a game, or I should say a half, and then most of the second half up until the end, like back and forth. And I watched a UIC team a week ago in Terre Haute that looked terrible. They didn't look terrible on that final. Northern Iowa, high volume of threes. That was a part of yesterday, too. We got that, and Butler. We'll get to Butler coming up, too. They start the Big East play. But, yeah, the state of Indiana in college basketball, I don't even want to bring up Notre Dame. Michael Lewis gets fired at Ball State. The college basketball in the state of Indiana, expectations or lack thereof, it's not supposed to look like this. I thought we were better than that. Damn good thing you guys got IU football. I don't know what else you'd have right now. Yeah, I watched the Pacers last night, too, and I would suggest it is good if they lose, but do you have to look that bad with actual guys out there when you do lose? They got guys out there. It's not just me, I hear. It's not just me. Back to that coming up in a minute. Charles Arbuckle next hour. Stephen Holder, 5 o'clock hour. Dan Graziano is going to join us coming up on the other side. The stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Alec Pierce is back with the Colts. Latest on Daniel Jones and the makeup of this squad as we are officially into free agency in the NFL on this Monday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Got a great idea. Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st, State Road 37. That is in Fishers. It is a new car buying experience that you've not had in forever. It's the best. You start with the inventory. You have the incentives to buy, which is going to save you money. Those are coupons for the vehicle of your choice. And then you've got the service after the sale, all encompassing the best car buying experience you're going to find any place. I want you to reach out to my friend Eric Wilson and make sure, as I like to tell you, you put the wheels in motion to the easiest destination you're going to find to roll out with the vehicle of your choice. That's Eric Wilson, Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, sir. There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. But that's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Busy day so far, NFL free agency. So, to get you updated on things, Alec Pierce back. Buttload of money. Michael Pittman Jr., because they're going to save some money, gets traded to the Steelers. Neville Gallimore going to the Bears as a free agent. And most recently here, Arden Key, edge rusher. I think back in the day I'd mentioned, I think they need to draft this guy. So, look, things do come full circle. 2-year, $20 million deal. Last 3 seasons for Key with Tennessee, 16 and a half sacks in those 3 seasons. That and more. We'll continue the updates for you, but on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he has an update waiting to happen from ESPN at Dan Graziano, ESPN. The aforementioned Dan Graziano joins us. It is one hell of a busy day. So what'd you think about the ultimate deal that the Colts got with Alec Pierce overall, Dan?
I thought it was really good for Alec. I mean, it's a big number for a guy that's never caught 50 balls in a season. But obviously they're banking on him, continuing to ascend. Obviously the big play threat he presents down the field was appealing to multiple teams, which helped drive up the price. And it seems like they were determined to keep him and Daniel Jones together, which they did. It cost them Michael Pittman Jr., but maybe with 1 year left on his deal, that was something they were thinking about moving on from anyway. So, I know it was important for the Colts to keep Alec Pierce, and they managed to do it. Obviously, they pay a premium to do it, but that's the way this market was. I think he was going to be the most sought-after free agent wide receiver in terms of obviously at that kind of number.
It is Dan Graziano. Dan, full disclosure, we're the ones around here that follow the Colts. We're normally the disappointed ones. Are there any teams and their fan bases out there disappointed? Because we did think going into the weekend that maybe, just maybe, Pierce would end up someplace else. He comes back here. Yeah. Are there a couple of teams out there, maybe less than a handful of teams, that come away disappointed with that?
Yeah, I think New England had some level of interest. I think Washington had some level of interest. I'm sure those aren't the only two. Again, teams are looking for ways to generate explosive plays, and Alec Pierce has shown an ability to do that. So it's not like, if you're interested in him, you can just pivot to some similar player. They're really not out there. So I do think there are some teams that are disappointed that were interested in taking a swing at him, but the Colts made sure he didn't move.
What do you think about Daniel Jones in this situation right now, where evidently they're still working on something concretely longer term, and in banking on him being back in August and then replicating, certainly for an entirety of a season, staying healthy, what he accomplished through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is this foolish behavior, or do you think that this is the way you need to go about it, especially considering that position?
I think, they have proof of concept with Daniel Jones as the quarterback in that offense. They saw it work at a high level, as you mentioned, over the first half of the season plus. My question, of course, and they would know more on this than I do, is how healthy is he, and how healthy is he going to be come September? Is he going to be able to start week 1? Are you going to need to find somebody else who can do that? And if not, then, when would he be back? And what kind of players Daniel Jones' mobility is a huge part of his game. Coming back off an injury like this, we very often see, players take a while to get back to their old selves. So to me, it's a tricky deal to do. It definitely seems like the Colts have put all their eggs in this basket. They signaled this back at the trade deadline when they traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, kind of saying, well, we're not going to use the draft here in the next couple of years to address the quarterback position because we don't have any first-round picks. So Daniel Jones is a guy that they really believe in, and obviously I'm sure they're hoping he gets back as quickly as possible. But they'll have, they'll be there. He'll rehab with them. They'll have a sense of of what his recovery timetable is and how to plan around it.
That is Dan Graziano of ESPN. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I think all along, and you can play off of this a little bit, you go all the way back to Sauce Gardner, the trade deadline deal of a year ago during the season, and then to now when Carly Ursay-Gordon decided to bring back Ballard and Steichen and basically most of this staff, that to me, also selling us all on the first 10 games of the season meant that when you run it back, you were going to run it back. So to me, this was a foregone conclusion with Jones and with Pierce. Prior to the start of free agency, did you feel the same about the direction of this team, at least in the short term?
The same as saying it was a foregone conclusion. I mean, I think
they were going to bring everybody back just like they did and not lose Pierce like many people thought they might, for example, with this.
Right, because I think the thought was you can only tag one, and if you use the tag, you're at risk of losing the other. So good for them for not doing that. I think we saw it in reverse years ago in New York when the Giants tagged Saquon Barkley and signed Daniel Jones, ironically enough, to a long-term deal. That obviously didn't work out in the long term for the Giants. Obviously worked out fine for both those guys. But, I think, given that they had these levers they could pull in terms of transition tag, franchise tag, whatever they were going to want to do, and given that they had time between the tag deadline and today to figure out, in this case, Pierce and what it was going to take, I felt like this was going to happen all along. People I talked to said, I think they'll bring back Pierce. Some even mentioned that could mean moving on from Michael Pittman. So, yes, everything that's happened with the Colts feels like it was according to plan. Again, the success of all of this is going to ride on how quickly Daniel Jones can get back to playing at the level we saw him play at in the first few months of last season.
Yes, Dan Graziano of ESPN. Any other surprises? I guess I should ask you this. What's at the top of your list as far as the free agent surprises so far today?
Free agent surprises. Chiefs spending big on a running back and kind of losing their whole secondary is an interesting way to go. Obviously, I know they believe in their ability to draft and develop players on the back end, but they're going to have to do that. Tyler Linderbaum, the center, getting $27 million a year. Like this is, I haven't seen the deal yet. That's the early reporting. The top of the center market this morning was $18 million a year. Creed Humphrey in Kansas City. So that's a massive jump for that market and a testament to what can happen when a guy hits unfettered free agency and isn't franchise tagged or fifth-year optioned or anything like that. So good for him and literally every other center for the rest of time. That they jumped that market by that extent. And I'd never really believed Mike Evans was going to leave Tampa, but obviously he does. He goes to San Francisco. That's going to feel weird. Those stand out as some of the surprises of the day.
Dan, here's a scenario for you. A lot of people mentioned it, and I thought, considering the relationship with Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen, and then the past with Kyler Murray, that it would never happen. But some have mentioned that would be better for the Colts to go ahead and let Jones do whatever Jones needs to do and bring in a guy like Kyler Murray. Did you ever buy into that particular argument? It was not prevalent throughout social media, but I saw it here or there. Did you ever buy it?
I think no, but I understand the logic. Kyler's basically free because of everything that the Cardinals are paying him this year. Whoever signs Kyler gets him on a minimum salary deal, $1.3 million. So would you rather have Kyler at 1.3 or Daniel Jones at 40? I think that's, that's probably where you would favor Kyler. But again, the Colts had something that worked. They know that Daniel Jones in this offense can do what they need him to do. They don't know that about Kyler Murray. So I think they lean very much toward, the bird in the hand, devil, whatever cliche you want to use, and kind of, let's run it back because it was working before he got hurt.
So, again, Dad Graziano with us. Before I let you go, anything else? Are you predicting here? Or are you thinking or watching, at least name recognition-wise, here down the road that may happen here in the not-so-distant future?
Boy. It's all happening so fast. I still think the quarterbacks, right? Like Kyler, Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa. How does that all settle? I think Minnesota is going to have interest in at least a couple of those guys, Kyler, Geno Smith, and I think that's the place everybody wants to go. So I'm interested to see when that domino falls. Who does Minnesota pick? And let's say they take Kyler Murray. What does that mean for Geno Smith? What does that mean for Tua Tagovailoa? I think that's what develops here over the next couple of days of interest, that quarterback market. Also, we haven't seen anything from Trey Hendrickson yet. I always thought it made sense to put him back in Indy with Lou Anarumo. I guess it's going to be expensive, but nobody's signed him yet. So it's possible, I guess, still at this point.
Yeah, Anarumo, or I should say Anarumo, but Hendrickson's been talked about a lot around here, and then they go out and get Arden Key of Tennessee, right, who I think he's around between 4 and maybe 7 per season in those 3 down in Tennessee. So I guess you address it right there, if for nothing else right now, Dan.
Yeah, I haven't seen the numbers on Arden Key. Don't know if that would take them out of other stuff.
Yeah, that would be $20 million with $11 million guaranteed is what is reportedly the deal for him.
Yeah, well, that probably means that's their guy. Yeah, I can't imagine they have a whole lot of cap space left.
Yeah, they don't. Cut some more. I kind of wonder what's going to happen to like Grover Stewart, and maybe there might be another one that we end up seeing as a casualty here to try to bring in other bodies. 'Cause, again, we are, I think, finally with Ballard in this season, and certainly with Steichen, it is a get to the postseason for me or bust type of scenario here, and this is the path I think you're taking with, as I mentioned earlier, running it back in the fashion in which you are.
Yeah, and again, if a lot rides on the health of a quarterback that has never been consistently healthy and currently isn't, and so I'm fascinated to see how this goes. Like, do they bring in another veteran quarterback? Because I don't think they have a whole offseason to go. At this point, I doubt they'd be comfortable starting Anthony Richardson if Daniel Jones wasn't ready to go at the beginning of the season. So who do they add that could cover them in that case? I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, too.
Yeah, where Anthony Richardson ends up in a trade is going to be interesting to watch. And like you mentioned, you don't mention Kirk Cousins, but we bounced that name around and other veteran quarterbacks as possibilities around here because you don't want to be one dinged injury away from Riley Leonard, I would assume, again this season.
No, I mean, it wasn't a disaster, but yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't think he's the answer, especially if you're trying to compete right away. So yeah, I imagine they'll bring in somebody, especially if they do trade Anthony Richardson. I know that was a thing at the Combine that he had asked for a trade. They said go ahead and check it out, but I don't know that a market has formed there. So yeah, I think they obviously have more to do. Cousins is an interesting case. I think he wants to wait out the landscape and see, like, if he gets word that, like, Daniel Jones isn't going to be ready till November, I'm making this up, right? This is hypothetical. Maybe that makes Indianapolis an appealing place for him to go because he'll know who gets some starts.
Well, we are talking about a team a year ago that brought Phillip Rivers back to quarterback and started him immediately. So
Remember
who knows?
That was wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
I covered one of those games.
That's one way to describe it. Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
As good at the moment of a story that it is, let's just face it, if you cover or follow an NFL team, you don't want that story to happen to your team. You just don't. So.
No, again, it was fun, but it was not effective.
Hey,
that's fair to say.
All over the network, are you? With your takes and information, I'm assuming, right? A lot of TV time?
I'll be on the show I'm mainly on this week is Get Up, 8 to 10 Eastern on ESPN. I'm on there every single day this week and then sprinkled around some various sports centers, NFL Lives the rest of the day.
Well, man, get your ass to bed. You got to get up early. All right? What are you doing on here with me? Jacking around with me. Got to get to bed.
Everybody's signing. It's like literally like a 4-hour stretch where every free agent is going to sign. So you got to pay attention.
You're not even going to have a chance to watch the Rockford Files later on tonight on a rerun either. You got to be paying attention to this crap. What? Come on, man. Hey, always a pleasure, pal. I appreciate you more than you know. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Dan Graziano of ESPN. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. By the way, if you want to follow what he does, that is at Dan Graziano, ESPN. He is on the Get Up program, as he mentioned, all week long. I don't have any doubt Sean Plex says, why not Riley Leonard? You mean for a starter? There's zero way that's going to happen. I like Riley Leonard. And maybe they believe Riley Leonard as the backup. But again, Sean, here's why I would suggest that they don't, and they'll address that with a vet. Actually, if somebody reminds me, I'll take a break, and I'll give you the ultimate tease right here and come back and tell you on the other side why I feel this way. It's nothing against Riley Leonard. It's more everything about what this team, this organization is about. Yeah, remind me, we'll do that on the other side. 317-239-1070. That is the text line. It is open. We are following the news items and the stories of free agency today. The latest is Arden Key, the edge rusher. 3 seasons the past 3 years in Tennessee, 16 and a half sacks. Also played in San Fran and Jacksonville. He was a third-round selection, if you remember, by the Raiders back in 2018. Arden Key, 2 years, $20 million. Neville Gallimore leaves the Colts to sign with the Bears, 2 years and $12 million. Michael Pittman Jr. to the Steelers in a trade that is $24 million in space that will be saved. Alec Pierce, the big story, 4 years, $114. We got that. And Daniel Jones saga still to come. Don't go anywhere. Stream the app, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live on what is a glorious early March Monday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John here for Premier Weight Loss. Premier Weight Loss does it all for you right now. They really do. How you feel, how you look, where you're going with your life. If you want to lose the weight, you have the GLP-1 weight loss injections every week, as I mentioned, too. If you're a part of Premier Weight Loss, 2 Indy area locations at 317-643-4444, plus the options, too, of doing other things like what I'm working on right now, the electronic toning mechanism. Now, it's just the abs and the midsection or my core for me, but it may be someplace else in your body that you want to utilize. You can do that today. Botox. You can also perform skin tightening. They have all those options, plus the GLP-1 weight loss injections. And if you work alongside, you're going to see even better results with Premier Weight Loss. That is Thomas, Sam, and Lauren, and an incredible staff that will be along with you every step of the way to make sure you're doing what is necessary to reach your goals. 317-643-4444. Tell them I sent you. PWLND.com.
The Ride with JMV.
We have the holy hand grenade.
Yes, of course. The holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Right.
1, 2, 5. Lisa, 3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, shout out to Dan Graziano of ESPN. Get up, I think, all week long for him regarding NFL free agency. I believe the Rockford Files mentioned went well over his head. I think that was more about me than it was about him. Will keep me from the late, great Jims Garner. Jims. That's how you pronounce his name, Jims. The late, great Jims Garner. God, I love the Rockford Files. I'm telling you, I thought he had the sweetest location of all. That trailer in the parking lot, I guess that was in Malibu or Santa Monica, right there in the Pacific. That was some prime location for a trailer right there. Sweet ass ride. To be Jims Garner. I got to get back to this. Sean had written this. Why not Riley Leonard? Here's why not Riley Leonard. And this is why I even question Riley Leonard as a plan B if the often injured Daniel Jones, the clear plan A, goes down, as we have seen in the past. Is you've got a group of, holy crap, you got to win right now. This is not about, hey, we're going to bring somebody along and we're going to build depth. This is about, let's put a collection of dudes together and see what happens in a season where there's zero way in hell any of us can come back if it's been like it has been. Better than mediocre or bust. And I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, it's been such a long time, but how else can you put it? How else can you see it? And how else can you phrase it? No way else. None. Zero. So while I don't think, Sean, your idea is wrong at all, I just don't see if something happens, them relying on Riley Leonard or having to go back and get Phillip Rivers back in here or whomever is most recently retired in the past 5 years. As I mentioned to Graziano, that was a great story nationally, but let's just face it, around here, because of this team where it is, where it has been, that was still a steel-toed boot kick to our groin. And I think as Colts fans, you're about sick and tired of getting the fellas split at this point. Just about tired of it. If you're not already swamped in being tired of it. That's a true story. JMV, did you think that Graziano made any sense regarding Kyler Murray? He was making sense financially about Kyler Murray. They're not, I know you're going to say, well, they're trying to save $6 million and jacking around in the fashion with the transition tag in which they're doing, but they're not worried about trying to get a Kmart blue light special of free. And believe me, if there is something that there's no way they're going to mess around with, is somebody like that you also bring in. He's often injured, much like the guy that you're going to pay handsomely to be around here, that you want around here. But this is a guy that has not been serious in the past. And assuming right now, as Graziano also mentioned, they're trying to find a spot for a guy that came here and wasn't serious in the past. I don't think they want anything to do with non-serious guys. So you want to trade Anthony Richardson, but you want to bring in Kyler Murray, and he has had the finger pointed at him organizationally for, something that is relatively similar. Probably not. I don't think the shoe fits in that capacity. So that's the point in this case I was trying to make. All right, calls on the other side. I've got time for you. 317-239-1070. You can phone or you can hit me up on the text line. 317-239-1070. Go ahead and give me some flow in here. Give me some good stuff. Yeah, I saw that yesterday regarding actress Jennifer Runyon. She was smoketacular for me in the 80s. In the 80s, she did a little something for me in Ghostbusters. What else was she in? Oh, yeah, she was in Charles in Charge. The last time anybody could stand Scott Baio, she was a part of that. 65 years of age. A smoke show of the 1980s, actress Jennifer Runyon passed away yesterday. Arden Key, the latest. Alec Pierce is back. Neville Gallimore moving on. Michael Pittman Jr. traded to the Steelers, $24 million in savings, and an informational holding pattern regarding Daniel Jones. We'll keep you updated on that and more. Charles Arbuckle, bottom of the hour. Stephen Holder, after 5. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Sunshine, blue skies. It's a Monday in Central Indiana in March. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John, for LD Smith Plumbing and Drains, the best in plumbing at 317-927-7186. You know, with all the wet weather we've had, you got to make sure you keep water out of where water should not go. Water has a tendency to go wherever the hell it wants to. You've got to keep it out. Make sure your sump pump is working and make sure you have a battery backup for that sump pump. The best deals of the year on your sump pump and the battery backup, you can find it right now at LD Smith Plumbing and Drains. The best in plumbing you're going to find in the state of Indiana. That's Lance and his local team at 317-927-7186. A part of this show for years, a part of the JMV takeover, and a part of all of your plumbing needs, Central Indiana. 317-927-7186 online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, it's been busy so far. We're keeping you updated. So while we're here, Alec Pierce, the biggest news of the day. Dan Graziano talked with us about that of ESPN Podcast 1075thefan.com. $80 million guaranteed, $60 million in a signing bonus, can earn up to $116 million. Everybody out there says he's not worth it. He ain't worth it. That was a Bobby Brown song. Was that Glenn Medeiros and Bobby Brown? No, she ain't worth it. She ain't worth it. To the Colts, he's worth it. To this team and their hope that they can reclaim what they were for the better part of the first 10 weeks of the season, he's worth it. The market bears that he's worth it. It works both ways, too. I just needed to get, maybe I wouldn't be worth it. You wouldn't be worth it. We all collectively wouldn't be worth it. We just have to find something where we end up being a huge need or necessity at that moment. I'm all the time thinking about it. When in the world on Saturday night will the entire globe realize that the only place to be is listening to me at B105.7 of the app? I think about that all the time. But the market bared. Now, we're waiting on Daniel Jones. And listen, I agree that there is a lot that is hanging in the balance right here. Considering his injury history, his injury situation, whether or not you can be what you were, as I mentioned, for the better part of the first 10 weeks of the season. And I've always said the tail end, he was already injured, but it seemed like in that Pittsburgh game prior to that, you saw a little bit of hole in the game. And you wondered if others weren't catching up to him a little bit, of teams, of defenses, of scouting, they weren't catching up. But what I maintain is these wheels have been set in motion long ago. When they decided to bring everybody back, when they decided not to make changes in significant areas, this is what they have chosen to do. And it was before today. This is before yesterday. This is why it made zero sense if you didn't bring back in its entirety the dynamic there with the quarterback, with the wide receiver. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. And it still may not to you. And for those of you, and I agree with you, it should have been long ago. The wheel should have been put in motion to start fresh. But they've decided not to do that again. So it's sure as hell too late to decide, now Alec Pierce is too expensive, or, now I don't know about Daniel Jones. I just don't honestly feel that Kyler Murray is ever going to be in any part of the discussion, even as cheaply as he would get here. In case you missed it, Zaire Franklin over the weekend traded to Green Bay. Kobe Wooden, the defensive tackle. He's a rotational defensive tackle. He's brought in Blake Groupie. 1-year deal, $1.4 million. So that will be a kick. It's funny. I go back to when we had Steichen on almost a couple of weeks ago at the Combine. Remember when I kind of half-assed jokingly said, what about a kicking competition? And he kind of giggled a little bit. Hey, yeah, who's giggling now? Guess he was on to something. My little nugget of a kicker is back. He's really good. Or at least he showed he was really good when he came in. Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114. Michael Pittman Jr. traded to the Steelers. Colts and Steelers will swap late round selections. I don't think I've seen anything announced yet. Maybe I've missed it by now, but I don't think I've seen it. $24 million in savings for the Colts with that. Then Pittman and the Steelers agreed to a 3-year, $59 million extension following that trade. Neville Gallimore leaves the Colts, signs with the Bears, 2 years, $12 million. 1 season with the Colts, 4 seasons in Dallas, and 1 season with the Rams. Career best 38 tackles this past year, 3.5 sacks. And Arden Key, within the last hour, that is an edge rusher that once upon a time I think I touted to come here. I think that, if I remember correctly, Rick Venturi thought I was crazy for suggesting that, which he's probably right. Arden Key, 2 years, $20 million, 16.5 sacks in the past 3 years as he's played down in Nashville with the Tennessee Titans. All right, you are officially updated. If anything else happens, certainly I'll make you aware of that. Eric Clapton tickets to give away a little bit later on I have for you. Charles Arbuckle, bottom of the hour. Stephen Holder of ESPN coming up after 5. 239-1070. I owe some calls. And Mike in Brooklyn, per usual, will start us off on this Monday. Hello, Mike.
JMV, what's up, man?
How we feeling?
Listen, you know, you've been doing a great job kind of outlining the whole process as we've been going along. And, you know, last week when I called you, I said, I can't believe that Ballard didn't franchise Pierce. I mean, so I guess there was method to his madness because we probably all, I mean, I know I was saying there's no way he's going to, once he hits the open market, he's gone, you know, probably over this weekend. I can't be alone.
We talked about maybe last week there being a gentleman's agreement of some sort, I would guess.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, they had a pretty damn good idea, evidently.
So let me ask you this. You know, the way this whole thing plays out here for the off season, do you think the approach is going to be kind of like an inverted approach where they're going to start putting all the pieces together on the team and kind of save Daniel Jones off to the side, like, okay, he's transitioned? Or do you think that they're going to be like trying to get him, you know, proactively done?
I would think that they're going to be proactively trying to get something done with this, unless again they feel that they know. And you know, it's funny. I think part of you and I in the dialogue we had was the Colts believe they're the smartest in the room, and that notoriously has not been the case. You think this is going to be one of those first times when it is going to be the case?
Well, let's hope. Listen, I'm in the camp that, just like you outlined, I thought he was trending back to being Daniel Jones before the injury. I mean, I give him credit for playing through it. You know, it's just kind of be fascinating to see, like, you know, how they're going to do this. You know, because they got other cuts that they got to. There's other guys that have to go. I'm thinking Grover Stewart, Kenny Moore, these guys, if they can get traded. I'm sorry to see Michael Pittman go. You know, he was a good player. He was a tough guy. I had a lot of respect for him. Not sorry to see Zaire Franklin go. I wish him well. I'm just so glad he's off the team. He's, in my opinion, not a guy that you want to be your leader. I want leaders to be like Darius Leonard and Gary Brackett and Jeff Harrod. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking right now that you know, they'll probably bring Pratt back on like a deal like he had last year and be the green dot guy for Lou Anarumo scheme, and then you think that they're really going to try and like save like this whole bunch of money here with like Stewart and Kenny Moore and really make a big play for a guy like Trey Henderson, the edge rush.
With the Arden Key thing. Don't you kind of wonder now, with that amount of money that they ended up investing in him? Doesn't that end that?
He seems like he might be fitting more into the Tyquan Lewis type role. He's making about $10 million a year on average. I don't know. I think knowing Lou Anarumo, maybe he wants his guys. You know, I thought they were going to sign the guy that the Titans just signed from the Broncos. That would have been like that type of edge rusher, and then hope that Latu can develop, and the kid JTT. But I don't know. It's kind of up in the air on how they're approaching this. You know, for building it They want to get, younger and faster, as Ballard has said, on defense. So if that's the case, then the only way to do that is to get rid of the guys that are old and slow, and guys that are making a lot of money. The thing is like, look, even a guy like Buckner, he's making like $20 million a year. I mean, and it's kind of like guaranteed. I mean, it
is a weird dynamic that we're talking about here too, considering a team that is playing for the now, but sometimes their dialogue is regarding got to get younger and, younger legs, more athletic legs that haven't been around the NFL. You don't immediately equate that to, in 1 year of a turnaround success. So it is weird. I'm just always under the assumption that they're going to do what is best for them to win right now. And those wheels, I think, have been in motion for a long time. That's why what they're doing right now makes it may not be the right move. And believe me, when was the last time there was a right move? But it is the move that they had decided to roll with long before today. So it's the only move that this organizationally, talking general manager and head coach and staff, is the only move they can make right now. And it was a foregone conclusion when Carly Ursay-Gordon decided to bring everybody back.
Yep. And if the reports are true that they're at odds with Daniel Jones because he's looking for upwards of $50 million per year, I mean, I don't want Daniel Jones at $50 million. I don't think he's worth the risk at a $50 million a year for a contract.
Would you be a Kyler Murray guy in that case?
Oh no, hard pass on that. No way. I would expect them to like bring back somebody like Minshew or Tyrod Taylor as a backup to Daniel Jones. To get him in the fold. Once they get him in the fold. But Kyler Murray, just like you outlined, you're not going to get rid of Anthony Richardson and then bring in a guy like
makes
Kyler
zero
Murray.
sense. No, even at a huge discount like that, it makes no sense.
Yeah, absolutely right. No question about it. Those types of guys, as we've been proving out, Steichen likes the cerebral guys. He likes the football nerds, the guys that he can game plan with, and he's not going to be compatible with a guy like Kyler Murray because every coach that Kyler Murray has worked with doesn't want him around. So you got to get a very specific offense and a very specific coach for him to be the guy that you can expect to thrive with. So definitely not Kyler Murray. It's not fantasy football.
No doubt. All right, we'll continue to move forward and see what happens, brother. I appreciate it. Stay in touch.
All right, JMV. Take care.
Mike in Brooklyn right there. Hey, by the way, Arden Key, 29 years old. 30 and a half sacks, 39 tackles for loss, and 96 quarterback hits in 8 seasons. Spread across the NFL landscape with the Raiders, Niners, and somebody else in the Titans. Arden Key is the latest right there. Marcus Mariota re-signed by the Commanders. Cameron Thomas, most recently within the hour, to terms off the edge of the Browns, now with the Falcons. Lante Taylor with the Titans from the Saints. J.K. Dobbins, running back with the Broncos. Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker with the Giants. 3 years, $36 million for the former Bears linebacker. Devin Bush in Chicago now from the Browns. 3 years, $30 million. Maybe the biggest of the day just because his name is synonymous with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, 3 years and a deal that is worth upwards of $60 million plus. He's going to the San Francisco 49ers. Weird seeing that. Those are some of the latest right there. All right, 239-1070 is the number. From Mike in Brooklyn to Butch up next. Hello, Butch. How are you?
Butch is no longer on the line.
Sorry, Butch. Appreciate that. JMV, that was right on regarding what you said regarding Riley Leonard. I just think nothing against Riley Leonard, but you're in a position right now where you're doing all this and you're not going to be relying upon Riley Leonard. And much like what was said in particular at the combine to me regarding, both Alec Pierce and Daniel Jones, the expectation is that they know, and there may be just some haggling going on right now. It's funny. I would think that the Colts may be the lone team out there that would be forced to negotiate this much with Daniel Jones, a guy that has a consistent injury history and a consistent, inconsistent playing history. But if you're going to haggle, you're going to haggle on, well, this is what he was in 10 games. I think the Colts would be the only team out there right now that would have to listen to any of that or have to draw a conclusion from the 10 games. Believe me, if you're the Colts and you're Shane Steichen, you want longer term because you want to be longer term, but you believe in Daniel Jones for the better part of the first 10 games of the season. But there's more evidence out there that Daniel Jones was not that for most of his career. The Colts would seem to me like the only team that would have to be placed in this particular situation. And this is a product of what? This is a product of being in the quarterback purgatory in which this team has been a part of. That is it. And that's where you start. JMV, I heard you talking about college basketball in this state being a tremendous turd in the Punch Bowl. That is absolutely true. What are your thoughts on IU moving forward going into the Big Ten tournament? Yeah, I brought that up a little bit earlier. You don't even buy it from the past because there's a precedent there. But we've just seen this team. We have seen its ceiling. And to go in and to have to draw a conclusion from a Big Ten tournament run to even have a sniff of the NCAA tournament, I thought Ohio State pretty much stomped them out on Saturday. And you look back at the Northwestern game at home, that certainly did no good either. But it's not a good team. They do everything at a much lower level. Now, on the other hand, you may look at that as disappointing, but there is nothing right now, up until this point, that has been more massively disappointing than the Purdue Boilermakers. Can you imagine that group at Mackey Arena? And this is just something that I don't know how you fix, because to me, there is no capability. You guys can shake your fist and say, play harder, and wear shorts with play hard on your ass and all that. But these guys, simply put, collectively cannot guard. Cannot guard. And for that, Greg Gard and Wisconsin took full advantage of that on Saturday. I never thought that we would be in that situation. You thought senior day for this group, they're going to close it out strong. And momentum is an overused term, but I think in this case, there's no doubt you're looking for anything. You give up 97 points to Wisconsin on Saturday. You give up 52 in the first half, and that wasn't enough. Yeah, it's bad enough. And then you go in and you still don't control Wisconsin to the tune of 45 in the second. 97 points you give up in a game on senior day at Mackey for that group. There's really nothing else to say unless all of a sudden these guys find some old school phone booth and come back out as guys that can play defense, because it's not a collection of guys that can't do it. It is a bunch of guys that individually are unable to do it. You just don't see anybody that, well, if he were in there, he could guard. There's nobody in there that's going to guard. Simply put, that's where they are. JMV, the Colts would have had an answer on Riley Leonard if they would have messed around and not brought in Rivers. They should have had 4 games of tape. I'm going to stop right there, too. And while it would have made sense at this point to see what you had, they don't care about that. They care about next year. And to me, they still wouldn't believe he to be a solution. Now, maybe they end up going that direction. Maybe he is, and it's all or nothing on Daniel Jones. I doubt it. I think you have to look at this through the goggle, not your bear goggles. You have to look at the way you might have to by October, but you have to look through your goggles of this is a group that is trying to be their best in this season. It is finally you do something, you get into the postseason, or everybody's got to go. And granted, this should have been a move that was made years ago. However, it hasn't been. And we are forced to live in the now. And living in the now dictates that you have this year to get yourself and your team into the postseason. Or then finally, evidently, kicking and screaming, changes will be made. And I just can't imagine that they are going to, with an off-the-engine quarterback and what we know about Daniel Jones, they're going to enter into the season with the backup, just one injury away, being Riley Leonard. And nothing against Riley Leonard, but just cannot envision that's what they're going to do. The latest for the Colts, Arden Key, the defensive rush-in brought in. Get to that. Alec Pierce, more on Daniel Jones. Charles Arbuckle, the former Colts tight end of the Colts Radio Network, going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. And more with Stephen Holder coming up of ESPN. We have Eric Clapton tickets to give away. And your calls at 239-1070 if you guys want to jump on board and respond to what the Colts are doing right now. You tell me if this is the right move to make. Or am I right about this being the only move they can make? It doesn't matter because, again, these decisions have been made long ago. And I'm not just talking about Pierce and the amount of money that he has been paid, but that about Daniel Jones and the haggling over the situation financially that the reps of Daniel Jones want compared to what the Colts want. You and me on the other side, Charles Arbuckle, Stephen Holder, Eric Clapton. Tickets on a Monday. Do not go anywhere. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, JMV here. Did you know that the Low T Center has everything that you need to check out maybe while you're slowing down, energetically speaking? You're exhausted, right? And you've lost your sex drive? Hey, book a free testosterone test at Low T Center. No risk, no commitments, just answers. So, if you want to start testosterone therapy, don't settle for a one-size-fits-all doses from your doctor or pay hundreds out of pocket. At a TRT franchise, that's exactly what you're going to do. Now, at the Low T Center, you can get insurance-covered TRT customized to your body for maximum effectiveness and safety. Low T Center has served over 500,000 patients since 29, and well, it continues to be the leader in the industry in TRT. So here's what I want you to do. A free men's T-test is what they're offering. Discounted peptides while supplies last, too. All that and more at the Low T Center. Sign up for your free T-test. Do that today. LowTCenter.com. That's LowTCenter.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, a lot of Colts news today. We're staying on top of that for you. Is this She Ain't Worth It? Glenn Medeiros and Bobby Brown, right? She ain't worth it. The girl ain't worth it. A lot of you suggesting Alec Pierce isn't worth it. As I told you, this is the direction they're going to go, and that's what the market bared, and that's what the Colts. I will say this, the Colts, when the rest of the world was freaking out over, I can't believe they're leaving him open, and he's going to go someplace else. They knew that he was going to return. They felt confident in that. Normally being the smartest in the room, as they always think they are, doesn't always turn out the way that they hope. Before I get to that, I hate this news. Within the last 3 hours, our friend from the IBJ, Dave Lindquist, this is one of my favorite places of all time. Who's with me on this? Old Pros Table in Broad Ripple. Debuted back in 1990, according to Dave Lindquist, is closing its doors. I was just there back in July, I think. Did we not do a tavern tour stop, I think? It is one of my favorites of all time. One of the most memorable. When you walk in and that fireplace is going right there as you walk in. OPTs will be no more. I'm going to raise a glass. I got to go out something to put in a glass to raise. Now, Dave Lenquist of IBJ has that story from earlier today. And we love all our friends at OPTs, by the way, too. Love the place. Closing its doors after, 36 years? On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, more on what has taken place here most recently with the Colts, all the free agency news, the trades, and then some. The former tight end of the Colts, radio network analyst Charles Arbuckle joins us. So we'll start right here with that of Alec Pierce. It was a have to, and again, those mechanisms I suggest were in motion long ago, considering that when you bring back Ballard and Steichen, you know that you're hoping you are what you were for the most part of the 10 weeks at the beginning of last season before your quarterback was injured. So it makes sense, does it not, regardless of the overall value and or cost of Alec Pierce?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at a couple of things. I think Sauce Gardner played a role in this. I still think Daniel Jones is – I don't know where this $50 million is coming from. This guy's an athlete's first. I don't know what they're thinking, but I do think that's going to take place as well because Alec clearly said he wanted to play with Daniel. And then I think Michael Pittman suffers from the unintended consequences. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's going to a place. That's one of the guys you and I talked about when he was coming out that I thought would be a good fit for the Colts. He's been great for the community, great for the team. Just one of those guys that plays hard, gives you all he's got. But at the end of the day, Alec Pierce had become the number one, but he couldn't be the number one because there was not enough targets to him. And I think now he has to show that he's WR1 with the dollars that they're giving him. And I think they're going to make sure that he gets enough targets to, make that do.
Well, Daniel Jones, whom clearly they like, is not Daniel Jones of the first 10 weeks of the season without the presence of Alec Pierce. That can be said.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. I think, Daniel, there was the question on him, which was a little bit surprising because I saw him in college and even early with the Giants when he had some weaponry there. He could throw the ball down the field. And I think Alec gave him that opportunity. And then he didn't fall back. I mean, he didn't get as many targets when Daniel got hurt, but he still made Riley Leonard look good. Phillip Rivers, whoever was in the quarterback position, just made you say, well, yeah, this kid has really improved, and Reggie Wayne has worked magic with him. And let's just – I want to give Reggie a lot of credit because I think the problem, and I was just on another show talking about receivers, coaches don't always get the due that they should. And Reggie, I think, would be a hell of an offensive coordinator one day because his room is so good. I don't want people to look at him as just a position coach. I think I would love to see them give him the passing game coordinator title, something, because he is just such a good teacher of the receiver game, but he knows football as well. And don't get that twisted because every time you still have Caleb Downs, Josh Downs, you have all these other guys that are in that room that have made plays. And I think he's only going to get better with Alec Pierce, and they're only going to improve. And whoever they bring in, that's a young guy, he's going to work with them and be able to get him ready for the next level.
So Charles Arbuckle, the former Colts tight end, he's from the Colts Radio Network on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So when do you think the ETA on a concrete future deal, a deal that we know is certainly not a transition tag for Daniel Jones, will take shape here?
Yeah, I think they'll have to come. I mean, the transition tag says 37.8. Daniel's but what he was offered was something similar to what I think. Who was it that just got that big contract? Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to make more than Sam Darnold, but I figure it's got to come down to some guarantees and how they want to do that. But the Colts need to be cognizant too. Daniel got hurt quite a bit with the Giants, and he got hurt last year. So they have to kind of finesse that as well to incentivize themselves in case he gets banged up or nicked up or anything that can happen that we saw last year. So I think those are the sticking points between those two sides right now. If I were fly on the wall, I would say that's probably where that is. And I would think it would get done before OTAs or sometime in the summer, but stranger things have happened, man. And then another team can come and offer them a sheet, and would they match that? I'm almost thinking they would, because they really want to have Daniel Jones here, and I think he wants to be here, but he's testing the waters right now.
It is interesting, though, because as you mentioned at the outset, it was Alec Pierce that said he wants to be here because of Daniel Jones. So it better be a foregone conclusion. And they were right about Alec Pierce. We kind of all freaked out about Alec Pierce hitting the open market, and he really didn't hit the open market. Yes, James. Do you have something?
I do got something. Ian Rappaport just announced that the Raiders are signing Kwity Paye to a deal worth $16 million.
There's one. Kwity Paye now moving on. Arden Key was brought in a little bit earlier today as a rush end. Trey Hendrickson has been mentioned. What are we thinking about as far as rush ins? Is there going to be anything more that you think the Colts will do outside of what they've done with Arden Key bringing him in?
I don't know if they can afford.
It's like $20 million for him, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they can pay for Trey Hendrickson. I think that when you look at it, that to me is one of those things that if you could get both Alec Pierce and Daniel Jones done at the right number. I mean, they had to, Zaire Franklin gets traded because of the dollars that they're trying to do. Michael Pittman is no longer here. So I don't know if they can afford Trey Hendrickson, and he's not going to give them a deal when he's looking for a big amount of money, right? So that's what's always interesting with how this plays out, because, I knew Kwity was going to be one of those guys. Neville Gallimore is also gone. He's with the Bears. There's some other those ends that they had in tandem on the other side of Latu. Can Arden Key manufacture that? He was on a bad team, but before that, he was on a really good team with the Raiders. And I think Jacksonville, my memory serves me right, but I think he's going to be really critical, and he was a really, really highly thought of guy when he came out of LSU. So they have to manufacture more pressure later, especially later in the year, if the Colts are going to get to where they need to go on defense.
Yeah,
I don't think Trey Hendrickson plays a role into that.
16 mil per is the deal for Kwity Paye, the former Colts pass rusher, now with the Raiders. So that is the latest. I think we were talking about something else, too, in terms of casualties. You mentioned Michael Pittman Jr. getting traded to the Steelers. We know that to be true now. Then he gets extended by the Steelers, and that was going to have to happen after how much they paid Alec Pierce. Anybody else? Because we've talked about maybe Grover Stewart, talked about maybe Kenny Moore. Yeah. Any other situations here of notable guys that the Colts might end up losing because of the cap situation they're in?
Yeah, I would say Nick Scott could be one. I like Nick. I think he's played some really good football. Nick Cross, excuse me. I'm thinking Daniel Scott, but Nick Cross could be one just because of the safety position and Hunter Waller coming back, Daniel Scott, who they have there. They've got some guys there. He could be a casualty from a safety position, depending on how that works out. I think another key pickup in this round of free agency could be another linebacker, but I think the draft this year is so heavy with linebackers and safeties, for that matter, that could play a role. And I knew that was one of the reasons why you were either going to have Pratt or Franklin or both no longer here. Zaire, I think, ended up in a great spot at Green Bay. So, and you get Colby Wooden, who I think is a really good player, not as a nose, but more as a 3. It's just going to be interesting to see over the next few weeks, during this free agency period until Wednesday, Thursday of this week, what all happens, because there's going to be a lot of movement over the next few days, man.
Yeah, the latest again, Kwity Paye, 1 year, $16 million after 5 years with the Colts, and 30.5 sacks in 5 years. He's going to the Raiders. That's
JMV, think about this.
Yes.
Daniel Jones came here on a 1-year, $14 million contract, and now he's scheduled to make 30, 35, maybe high 30 per year. It pays to be in a good spot, and it pays to make plays when you get there, and it pays to do it on a team when you have a chance, right?
Do you think there are any other teams out there at the 50 million number, for example, that would pay that for Daniel Jones?
No, I can't see it.
I can't either. It seems like the Colts are kind of haggling with themselves a little bit on this.
It feels like it. It feels like it, and it's not Daniel. I mean, it's representatives, and generally, when you're the player, you let your agents handle it, and at some point, he'll probably step in and say, "Hey, what's really reasonable?" I mean, they're starting at a big deficit, right? 33 to 50 million is a pretty big number. So I'd be interested to see, how that's going, and I'm sure Ballard and his guys are putting batting the hatches on it and doing just what we're doing. Like, hey, you got hurt last year, but we still love it a lot. You got to – it's a finesse kind of situation. You don't want to talk too poorly about the person, but then you also got to say, okay, they don't come completely with everything, and, but you also have to be careful that it doesn't get too hostile in those negotiations, because I've seen that happen sometimes when you come out on the other side and both parties are not happy with each other after, even when it's a good deal.
So Charles Arbuckle with us. Before I let you go, this is a trivia question that you may know. I don't have an answer for it. I'm just going to load it up and flop it out there right here. 2 left-handed quarterbacks with the Falcons, Tua and Michael Penix. When's the last time the top 2 quarterbacks for a team have been left-handed? Do we know?
Young.
I know you immediately think about anything Steve Young or Jim Zorn automatically, I think is what you think about.
Yeah. It'd be one of those 2 teams. I don't know the answer to that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, 2 left hand and both about as often injured as you can get at that position. So,
no doubt.
No doubt about it. So,
yeah,
I'm assuming we'll watch the latest on Nick Cross and then see if the Colts end up getting something done regarding Daniel Jones. And I relate to what you said regarding Sauce Gardner, because you're right. This direction and sticking with this goes all the way back to the trade deadline of 2025, does it not?
Oh, it does. Yeah. And I think Sauce said it best. He said, I'm going to lock them in my I mean, they're buddies, man. They played together. They battled against each other. And I think, Alec was one of those guys that said, hey, I cut my teeth here. I'm comfortable here. You can go somewhere for that extra $1 million a year, or you can stay here and you can keep doing your thing and become even more. And you know how these folks in Indy, I mean, I tell you all the time, it's, after I was looking for a home, I found it here, man. I've never been treated better. And this is like my second home because of the way the team was and, just having everything. And I know sometimes you can look at going somewhere else. I had a chance to go to the Jets or Indianapolis Colts. I think I made the best decision I ever could have made.
Charles Arbuckle, Colts Radio Network, the former tight end here, is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I appreciate your check-in, and we'll keep you updated, keep you in the loop here, and get you back on when other news happens. I appreciate you more than you know.
All right. All good, JMV. You take care now.
Charles Arbuckle on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Stephen Holder, top of the hour. Dan Graziano of ESPN to start out the show. And the latest, the Raiders signed Kwity Paye. 1 year, $16 million. So both he, Neville Gallimore from the Colts to the Bears, 2 year and $12 million. And then Michael Pittman Jr. traded to the Steelers, late round selections, saving $24 million on the Colts, and then immediately signs a 3 year, $59 million extension with the Steelers. So there on the exit, Alec Pierce staying put, Arden Key on the inbound. 2 years, $20 million, edge rusher, formerly of the Tennessee Titans. We'll keep you updated on that. Anything latest regarding Daniel Jones, we're on top of that too. Stephen Holder, top of the hour. Eric Clapton tickets before we end this show. I know Central Indiana, we're dealing with a humdinger of a Monday. Sunny, blue skies, 70-degree temperatures, And a hell of a day to be talking about NFL free agency as it pertains to the Colts. Don't go anywhere. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. 317-239-1070 is useful to phone or to text. Either way, we'll get to you with 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. John here for the District Tap. I've got you said later on tonight. You need this time of year place that has damn good food, incredible happy hour specials, and TVs everywhere because you don't want to miss anything. And gloriously, there is so much going on. And you will find that at the District Tap. Clearwater Crossing Northside, downtown Indy. Of course, anything going on downtown with whatever you're doing, the District Tap's going to have you covered just a block away from Cambridge Fieldhouse. Damn good food, great happy hour specials, live entertainment. You've got event space, private rooms, TVs everywhere. You're not going to miss a second of anything. Fully entertained, and a great part of your day can be spent at the District Tap. 2 Indy area locations. To find out more online, thedistricttap.com.
The Ride with JMV.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I got you covered on it. Thank you for joining us. The latest, the Raiders signed Kwity Paye, 1 year, $16 million. Oh, you want to know what the Colts are doing today, right? Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114 million. Highest paid per year, that's $28.5 million for a wide receiver in free agency history. Reportedly turned down more money from the Commanders. Evidently, the Commanders offered over $30 million. 47 receptions and a smidge over 1,000 yards a year ago. That is Alec Pierce. All right. Somebody else on the inbound. From the edge, 3 seasons in Tennessee. Arden Key, 2 years and $20 million. Most sacks in a season for Key, 2021. That's 6.5. Turns 30 on May the 3rd. 16.5 sacks for Arden Key in 3 seasons. The last 3 seasons in Tennessee, in fact. All right, the Colts lose Neville Gallimore to the Bears, 2 years, $12 million. And Michael Pittman Jr. was traded to the Steelers. That will save the Colts $24 million. In the process, they swapped some late-round selections. And then Michael Pittman Jr. agrees to a 3-year, $59 million extension following that trade. 29 years of age he will be coming up in October. There would be the latest. And a lot of your reaction, a lot of your response. I did want to get to this, though. I had mentioned this a little bit earlier. We got Stephen Holder, top of the hour. But OPTs, the Old Pros Table, is closing in Broad Ripple. And I know Steve is running that and is, obviously a friend of the show and is incredible at what he does. And I knew that they were in the process right now in Broad Ripple of transitioning Rock Lobster, Mine Shaft, and Average Joe's into a big bar called the Ripple Rodeo. However, when you look back at 36 years of OPTs in Broad Ripple, I'm assuming if you're around my age or younger, maybe even older, but let's just say, for example, you're a member of Generation X. At one point in your life, you raised a glass inside OPTs, and there is a great deal of incredible memories. I love me some OPTs. There was nothing that you knew exactly when you walked in. I'm not suggesting you didn't know where you were when you walked in, but you knew as soon as you saw that fireplace right there, it was OPTs. It is closing its doors after 36 years. And Steve and the gang, shout out to you guys, too. Good update right there, by the way. And Steve, obviously, and Clayton's a part of Clayton's Country Bar here downtown that is doing incredibly well. You knew that was going to happen. Stephen Holder on the other side. We've got Eric Clapton tickets to give away. The latest on Colts free agency. Championship week hits on Monday. We'll get into that with stuff going on at the State Fairgrounds and the Horizon League. We'll talk about that and a lot more later on this week, both the Big East and the Big Ten, the situation with Purdue, IU, Butler, Michael Lewis fired as head coach at Ball State over the weekend as well. Hey, that and more. Don't go anywhere. The stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. I can see myself on the TV out in the hallway. That's badass right there. It's a good look. You can't see it, James. It's around there. Good look, though. That's how you can watch. That's the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Stay right there. Hey, John here for Love Heating and Air Conditioning. How many of you out there, either on Friday or maybe even today, have you felt compelled to go ahead and go from red to blue? Meaning from heat to cool in your home. See, that's a part of the process that can weigh heavily on your system, meaning this is a great time of year to take advantage and to make sure your system is working efficiently. And John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air are the best in the state of Indiana to do that for you. In fact, I've got to do it very soon. You might as well, to make sure it's working efficiently. And when you make for real that transition, that you're not going to lose any of the comfort inside your home. It's Love Heating and Air, 317-353-2141. The best in heating and air is Love Heating and Air. Online, love-hvac.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music!
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right. Well, latest on Quiddy Pay, 3 years, $48 million with the Las Vegas Raiders. $32 million guaranteed. Good Lord Almighty. Why was I not a defensive end? Who decided to lead me down this path? Thanks a lot. Thanks for nothing. Kwity Paye, 3 years, $48 million. That is the new, we initially heard just like 1 year, and now moving forward, 3 years, $48 million, $32 million guaranteed for the former Colts defender. Earlier in the day, off the edge, and after 3 seasons in Tennessee, Arden Key, 2 years, $20 million with the Colts. Neville Gallimore, Audi, 2 years, $12 million. He's with the Bears now. Michael Pittman Jr. traded earlier today. You knew something would have to give there financially. The Colts will save $24 million. Pittman Jr. going to the Steelers. A swap of late rounders. And then, by the way, 3 years and $59 million with an extension for the former Colts wide receiver. Big news of the day, Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114 million. That's $60 million in a signing bonus. He can earn up to $116 million. Well, wait a minute. Maybe somebody should have told me to be an athletic wide receiver that makes big plays. And who was a free agent this year. Timing is everything. $28 million or $28.5 million per year. That is the highest paid per year wide receiving contract in free agency history, at least until this point, and it'll be surpassed here, I'm sure, soon. About that and more on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He's known all this, soaked it all up. Stephen Holder of ESPN is with us. It has been fast and furious per usual on this Monday, has it not?
Yeah, I think we should have expected this. We knew that the Colts were going to be one of those teams that got dominoes falling, because they had a couple of big issues to deal with, and the first of those was Alec Pierce, and obviously TBD on Daniel Jones, but that I have been told consistently today that will happen. I don't know if it happens today, but there will be a deal there. He will be on the Colts roster in some capacity this year.
Give me the over-under. Let's guess here. Let's jack around. What else do we have to do? We got the time. Let's mess around. What's the ETA
on
Daniel Jones? Yeah, longer term.
Yeah, I think. It's fluid. They're working on it. I listen. Here's the thing I would say. Like, they don't have to necessarily give him what he wants if it doesn't work for the Colts because they have him tagged. Now, unless and until someone else steps up and makes an offer. So if you're Daniel Jones, you could wait this out. So that's the only reason it's hard to really put a timeline on this, because it's not like an unrestricted guy where, you got to hurry up and get those big deals right out of the gate. Here, you have to think of it almost like a franchise tag. You just wait because you have that bird in hand. In other words, the least he could make is that $38 million. So I don't know if that makes sense. I think what he's waiting for is for a market to materialize, if indeed one does, and then that gives you a more, a stronger bargaining position if you're Daniel Jones. But unless that happens, I'd say advantage Holtz here because they have to tag on him, and someone would have to take the initiative and go and make an offer to him, knowing the Colts could match. And I think they're not going to be incentivized to do that. So sorry for the word salad, but that's kind of how I see it.
Do you think is there even a team that would do that right now, that would make just the slightest the monetary value and again, position alone? Right. Who would be that in love to lob one of those deals out there right now?
I don't think it happens, and I think that's why the Colts felt comfortable making the transition tag. And I want to go back to, I can't remember if we talked about this last week or not. I think we were still waiting for the tag deadline when we talked last. But think about it. There was a lot of discussion when the tag decision was made, and it was placed on Daniel Jones and not Alec Pierce. The reason for that, I believe, and based on everything that I know, and I've been tracking this, the reason for that is they were very far apart on Jones. They weren't that far apart on Pierce. But if you're Pierce, you also wanted to kind of know what the market was going to dictate, right? And he also wanted the quarterback situation settled. So neither of those things happened. So that's why, I mean, he didn't sign and he didn't agree because they weren't quite there yet. But they were at least closer than they were. They were closer with Pierce than they were with Jones. So that being far apart is why they used the tag there, knowing that they could probably get to Alec Pierce's number more easily than Daniel Jones. So that was the rationale there. I think with Jones overall, is there a team that would do it? I say probably not. I think there's enough fallback options out there, like Tua today, shaking loose. Aaron Rodgers, I guess, is going back to Pittsburgh. Is that the latest, I think? Kyler Murray. So there probably are enough fallback options that I just don't see it happening, but I can't rule it out completely.
So I guess what we're talking about here is the reps of Daniel Jones. They're trying to get what they believe to be to their number just on the shoulders of 10 games a year ago or the first 10 weeks of the season. That's what we're going on here majorly too. And if it doesn't appear that there's another market out there, how long are they going to hold on to this pipe dream, you think?
Well, I mean, look, I don't know what he's asking for. I saw the Albert Breer report.
Yeah.
I know Albert very well. I have no reason to doubt that's what the source told him. I would say this. I don't get caught up on what players are asking for because players can ask for whatever they want. I will tell you, I didn't get what I asked for in my last contract negotiation. Let's just say we were pretty far apart, me and ESPN, right? But they won, okay? Let me be clear. ESPN won that negotiation. So look, I mean, it doesn't matter what you ask for. And again, I don't know the number. I can just go by what was reported. But it's not going to be $50 million a year. That is not going to happen. If that does happen, I will eat my words and I will say Chris Ballard is an idiot. So that's where I'd leave that.
Well,
I mean, I can't be any more clear than that, right? It's like he is a complete and utter idiot if that happens. I don't see that happening. I don't think there's a world where that happens.
Well, I will say this. I think you and I had this conversation last week, and once it evidently the Colts and Alec Pierce were on the same page all along, which I think equates to when I talk about the Colts more times than not believe that they're the smartest in the room, even if there's evidence in the past they've not been the smartest in the room. And in that case with Pierce, it appears like they were, and that's what they're trying to be, I guess, ultimately with Daniel Jones right here. So it worked out with Pierce, as it seems, getting him back in the fashion in which, and certainly Pierce had more interest on the market than Daniel Jones would, so maybe they're going to be the smartest in the room on this too.
Well, I'll tell you this, though. There was certainly, as of Friday and into Saturday, I've been following the Pierce situation very closely, and from both sides, both camps. And there was no deal on Friday, no deal on Saturday. I was told it really was last night, but really this morning when they really came to terms and dotted the I's and crossed the T's. I do think the Colts felt like they had the ability to get where they needed to be. But the reality is that Alec Pierce wanted to know what was going on at quarterback, and we now have some certainty about that. And then he wanted to be at a number that he felt comfortable at. And I think the $29 million is not what he left more on the table, I was told. He could have made over $30 million a year, is what I was told very clearly from a great source. And he definitely, though, was prepared to go to the market, but the Colts stepped up and made it happen. And I think they were prepared to do that. They just waited until the last minute to do it. With Jones, I don't know if it's about necessarily being the smartest in the room. I think they're playing the hand that they're dealt here. And the hand they were dealt was they couldn't get on the same page with the contract, clearly. And they didn't want him to be unrestricted because they feel like they need him, or they feel like he could be their quarterback for the foreseeable future. And so it was just too important to leave him unrestricted. So that's where we are, and that's where they tagged him for that reason. And I think it just has to play out. I don't know that it's a right or wrong approach. I just think they did what they had to do, and they're playing the cards they were dealt there.
Yeah, let's just face it, too. Alec Pierce is not signing here if he does not truly. They said Daniel Jones is coming back. He's it, and that's that. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, I was told today, the quote that I was told today is that Daniel Jones will be a Colt, period. That was the quote. And I have no reason not to believe that. I think the question is going to be just what shape does it take, who wins, who loses, all that. But I think the Colts probably have some sense of his market and whether there is a market. And I think that was why they put the transition tag on him. You got to have some intelligence out there, some intel, in other words, not that kind of intelligence, not smarts. You got to have some intel, and I think they probably have some intel here. I'm guessing, but I think they have some intel, and that's why they felt comfortable at that number and with that tag.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. Free agency is underway with a flurry. He's kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. This is not a major story right now, and I'll get to the others that are on the table here, but I have been going back and forth with some folks as a part of the show about what they're going to end up doing at backup quarterback as well. And a lot of people say, hey, lean on Riley Leonard. He'll be just fine. I suggest because of the situation organizationally that Ballard and Steichen and what, everybody foresees out of them and this make or break finally type of season, that it's going to be, also considering the Daniel Jones injury history, a veteran presence. Mm-hmm. What say you?
I think it's a great debate, and I don't think there's a clear-cut right or wrong answer here, which I know that's a weak response, but I really do feel that way. I think they believe Riley could do it, and my conversations with Shane Steichen lead me to lean a little toward Riley Leonard as number 2. But I can't rule it out. I think it depends. It's got to be the right guy at the right time with the right money. I don't know who it would be right now, but we probably will see other quarterback moves made. And in other words, I mean, guys could still hit the market who have not yet, right? With as other dominoes fall, you could have other cuts. So let's see what happens. And I think if something happens unexpectedly, say during the draft, for example, it might not be now. It might be they're okay with Riley unless and until a better option comes, right? I think that's one way to look at it. It might not happen now. They might right now believe the way to do it is to have Riley Leonard as their number 2 quarterback. If someone falls out of the trees after the draft, or they get offered a trade for a 6th-round pick during the draft, maybe they avail themselves of that opportunity at that time because it makes sense. But I think right now I lean a little bit toward them just going with Riley Leonard. But again, I think it's a slam dunk.
That's Stephen Holder with us. So we know about Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114 million, and that we knew would also cost them Michael Pittman Jr., who was traded earlier today to the Steelers and then subsequently signed a 3-year, $59 million extension with the Steelers. The compensation that is forthcoming just suggests a swap of late-round picks. Hit that, and then how do you think the Colts ultimately make up for that trade? Is this going to be through a draft selection, or will they dabble it all into some of the leftovers of a veteran wide receiver to bring in?
So your first question, in terms of the compensation on the Pittman trade, look, the Steelers did them a solid here. That's really what this is. The late round swap, I don't know which particular picks are being swapped, but it sounds like it's almost a wash. That's how those things usually work out. Somebody gains a few spots, in one round. So I really think the Steelers are just doing them a favor. They had a need. The Colts didn't want to cut Pittman, or maybe they're doing him a favor by sending him to a team that actually wants him, and he got the extension. So, I mean, if you're going to not be on your team, the best scenario is to get traded and get a bunch of new money, right? So Pittman, I'm not saying he won here, but I don't know that he's losing either. I think he's going to be okay. And that man loves to get paid. So I'm happy for him. So I think that's what happened there. In terms of how the Colts move forward, I lean towards saying you go into the draft and you find the production there. They have drafted pretty well at that position. I'll give them credit. Look, I mean, think about who was on their roster just a few months ago. They had drafted Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, who certainly has his issues, but is extremely talented. We can have that conversation another day. But I mean, they drafted all those guys within the last 5 years. So I think I trust them to go out there and find some production at wide receiver, even if it is in the second or third round. They've proven they can do that. I think you got to look at a couple things. Who led them in targets last season? It was actually Tyler Warren. So, and I would say toward the end of the season, I thought they probably underused Warren a little bit and probably could have got more out of him. So I think you're going to see Warren, his stock continue to rise. There's probably more meat on the bone for Josh Downs. And Alec Pierce is going to get a hell of a lot more work too, clearly, right? I mean, because that's what happens when you make $29 million a year. So I just think his role has to change when you take away that big outside receiver in Pittman. You know, there were certain routes that were pegged to that spot on the field, the guy lining up at that spot. And that player was always Michael Pittman. That player now will oftentimes be Alec Pierce. So I think you're going to see a much more diverse route tree for him. And I welcome it. I actually think he's very capable. I thought that he showed last season he is a really reliable receiver in traffic, which you have to be to play that role. I think he's tough. I think he can do it, and I think he can excel at it. I'm actually very interested to see how this plays out. I don't think they have to make a huge wide receiver move necessarily, but I do expect maybe you hit it in the draft.
Stephen Holder of ESPN's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Free agency officially underway, and as I mentioned earlier, a flurry of moves, not just with the Colts, but around the rest of the NFL. However, one other move I did want to talk about was that of Arden Key, the edge rusher from Tennessee. 3 years, 16.5 sacks in 3 seasons as he spent in Nashville. 2 years and $20 million. We see the exit of Kwity Paye and now the entry of one Arden Key. Does that end, you think, any of the Trey Hendrickson dialogue or conversation, or should it out there from Colts fans in general?
I mean, I think there's still the possibility of making a splash at defensive end. I'm not banking on it, but I don't think it necessarily precludes them from doing it. I mean, think about it. The Pittman trade was a game changer because it allows them a lot of flexibility. And some of that cap space, the $24 million in savings, a lot of that, I assume, will be eaten up by Alec Pierce and his deal. But depending on how you structure that, it doesn't have to eat up a lot of it, and you can still create more cap space. Really, the question here is not cap space. The question here is appetite for spending, and I don't know what that is, but whatever their appetite for spending is, they can create the money and they can make the deal. The question is just cash. It's going to be costly, and they are spending a fair amount of money. There's no question about that. Just in general already, right? They're going to have to give Daniel Jones a signing bonus. Alec Pierce is probably getting a big signing bonus. Those are checks being written right now and money going out the door. So that's a lot of money. And if you bring in a Trey Hendrickson, I'm not projecting that. I'm just saying if you did that, he's going to ask for a big signing bonus. So that's a lot of upfront money. It really boils down to appetite and how much of a stomach you have for doing deals like that with big money on the front end.
Yeah, so in Kwity Paye, we thought this would probably be the outcome. 3 years, $48 million with 32 guaranteed for the Raiders. And Arden Key, I remember going all the way back to Arden Key. He was somebody I liked out of LSU but it has been kind of off the radar, I think, during most of his career. So I would assume I'm with you on this, that they're not done with that position just yet. We'll see what they can do, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like this. I think Arden Key is a nice addition if he's a rotational guy. Okay, now if he's a featured guy who doesn't leave the field, then I don't love it. If he is going to be one of multiple signings, I'm in. That's kind of where I'm at on it. I think, you think about it, he's cost a lot. He'll cost a lot less than Kwity Paye, and frankly, the production is comparable. So, by that standard, I think it's fine. I don't think I have any issue with that. But it really is dependent on what else they do. And look, it may not be Trey Hendrickson, but it might be another. Maybe it's another Arden Key level player. Maybe they'll do it by committee. I don't know, but I think you got to do something else. I think another domino has to fall at pass rush. Think about it. You could potentially be walking away from Kwity Paye, Tyquan Lewis, and Samson Ebukam. Yeah. So that's three guys. That's a lot of snaps there. You got to do something else, I feel like.
So quickly, too, this is kind of a two-parter right here. One is any other cap casualties you foresee, and I know Grover Stewart's name has been mentioned, Kenny Moore's name has been mentioned, and then Nick Cross destination location. Any ideas?
So on the cap casualties, I think it really boils down to, do they like the player or not? I don't think they have to make financial decisions right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you were to cut Kenny Moore, does that open up some money? Sure. But I don't think that is a money-driven decision solely. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. They can open up money other ways if that's what they want to do. Just extend Quentin Nelson if you want to. You got to do it anyway, right? So that's one example. On Nick Cross, I haven't thought much about where he might end up, but I can't see him coming back. It's nothing personal. I just think it just doesn't make sense for them to spend what it's going to cost to retain him, the Colts, at the position that he plays. You've already invested, I think, money at the more important safety position, which is Cam Bynum playing free safety, the deep safety. The strong safety, which is basically the box safety, is more replaceable. And they have some options there. I mean, maybe Hunter Wohler comes into play there. I don't know. But I think they have options there. And they can sort of move some bodies around and figure that one out.
All right. One final quick thing, too. Anthony Richardson, there's not a lot of value there. Is there any expectation something is going to get done sooner rather than later there?
No, I don't think anybody's in a hurry necessarily. I mean, he might be, but I just think all these other quarterback dominoes have to fall. I don't think he's one of the earlier dominoes, just quite frankly. And if nothing materializes, I presume they would cut him at some point. I don't know if that's closer to the draft, but I think you let it play out at least that long, up until the draft. If you really are interested in getting a pick, you got to let things play out. So I think that lingers a little bit until the dust settles a little bit, and then we know what the quarterback landscape remains after that.
All right, job well done. There's a lot to keep track of right there. We did not get to Neville Gallimore 2 years with the Bears, but we'll leave that for another day.
That's a good pickup, by the way. I thought he played well.
I did too. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah. No doubt about it. All right. Hey, thanks for keeping us updated, and we'll do it again next week, man. Stay on top of things. I know you will.
All right, you got it.
Yeah, Stephen Holder of ESPN on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The latest, the Chiefs re-signed Travis Kelce. 1 year, $12 million for the 36-year-old tight end to stay in Kansas City. That within the last 30 minutes. Quick break. We'll come back. We will recap what has gone down today with the Colts. A little bit more college basketball, the championship week games later on this evening, and then the start later on this week of the Big East tournament. Are we going to be compromised with a Big East matchup with Butler at all? James, do we know? You have any idea?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Good, nothing. No, I will come back to that a little bit later on. Butler in the Big East, Big Ten, that and more, all later on this week in championship week. Eric Clapton tickets, and we'll keep you updated on the latest NFL news coming up. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, Johnny, for WeGrowHairIndy.com. 317-522-2995. You talk about the madness. Hey, listen, 9 years, and I go back to that first year, and I thought, what? Am I really going to do this? Because I knew I was losing my hair. I wanted to do something about it, and Darren Andrews dialed me in. And I've been with We Grow Hair Indy for 9 years and love it. If you want the real growing hair option, and actually, it's plural because they have different techniques that can regrow your hair and consistently do it with boosters. The technology is there. You just have to be motivated to make that call. 317-522-2995. Tell Darren Andrews that I sent you today. WeGrowHairIndy.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Sis boom ba. Sis boom ba. Describe the sound made when a sheep explodes.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Quick update. Oh, I'm sorry. Clapton tickets. Classic right here, everybody. When I was the DJ at the Third Base Lounge in Bloomington back in the day, this was all the Hillbilly Slow Jam Classic. And not because it's a hillbilly song, but the hillbillies there, they would request the song so they could get up. They didn't want to dance to any of the dance music. They thought there'd be some heeing and sheeing going down if they requested this song and they could get up and slow dance. This is one of the Wonderful Tonight classic slow songs of any generation right here. And among other things, Eric Clapton is absolutely one of the greatest ever to do it. So my advice to you, number 30 on the text line, 317-239-1070. Eric Clapton. That's going to be outstanding right there. And shout out to our friends at Live Nation for putting that together. Generationally speaking, incredible. Number 30, 317-239-1070. You had no idea you guys are going to go for this Clapton stuff right now. Go get it. Get you some. We'll do that all week long. Hey, by the way, too, Joe's Grill, Castleton coming up on Friday. Well done. Hey, the dugout this past Friday, I got to give a shout out to our friends from Coors Light. They were out there and they stayed. We were outside on the patio. It was packed on a glorious day just like today. Man, you guys kicked ass on Friday. Thank you. And we're going to put together more great times just like that. Again, friends from Coors Light. The buckets were flowing. Thank you, guys. And Nick Baxter at the dugout. Great to see him again. Joe's Grill coming up on Friday. The Fan Invitational 2026 golf outing presented by Franciscan Health. Have you guys signed up yet? And not just because you're playing golf, which you will be, or eating and drinking, which you will be, but I've heard for so many of you that are challenging me to a shooting contest, right? And a lot of you are like challenging me to come to your place. I'm probably not going to come to your place. So we have got a neutral floor, if you will. So if anybody out there that's talked a bunch of blank to me about being able to outshoot me in a 3-point contest, this is going to be your chance. Legends, April 30th in Franklin. This is going to be your chance. Everybody that told, I can shoot better. Look at that release. That release sucks. All I know is it goes in. All right, that's all I know. Then, yes, I do realize that James Boyd was talking junk this morning about me poking him in the eye yesterday morning playing pickup poop. That was all his fault. You don't know where you're going, and my hand was right there. Don't make contact with my index finger with your eyeball. And I was kind enough to locate his missing contact on the floor, too. Keep your eyeball off my index finger. Know where you're going. And you should know where you're going, too. The Fan Invitational 2026 golf outing presented by Franciscan Health. Sign up. And when you sign up, let me know. And when you sign up and let me know if you or any of your buddies or pals or friends or amigos or palominos are going to want to be in the shooting contest. I'll start lining you guys up. April 30th online, 1075thefan.com. Just let me know when you sign up, and thank you for doing so. It will be a blast. Oh, yeah, shout out to Third Base Lounge, the Fishbowl. You know, once upon a time, and I don't know if he's still with us or not. I know Larry, the owner of Third Base, when I was the DJ there, when I was in high school, he was actually a home plate umpire, and I thought he was a really good one. The third base, you would go in and you would go down. And I think most notably back in the 90s, the third base was a hangout of sorts when Nick Nolte came to town to follow around Bob Knight for Blue Chips. Or at least I know he made an appearance in the third base. The third base lounge and/or dance club was down in the basement. Classic. And it became... When did it become? the strip place, I think, for a while, and then the strip place moved up the block. Third base. Then they had a location over in Ellisville, two locations back in the day at third base. Clapton tickets all week long. The response today, Alec Pierce re-signed. You saw the number there. Michael Pittman Jr. traded to the Steelers. Arden Key signed 2 years. Neville Gallimore moves on to the Bears. And the latest was Kwity Paye, a deal with the Raiders. We'll get you the numbers and more updates as we go. But let's do 239-1070. Line 2 is Jake, who's been on hold. Hello, Jake. How are you?
Hey, JMV, you're the man. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
I got two things for you, okay? My first thing, this Alec Pierce thing, it's the best deal you can get because what people aren't talking about is that Alec Pierce is the best with separation. And, I mean, Reggie Wayne deserves a lot of credit for coaching this guy. I mean, there's a reason why the Patriots wanted him. There's a reason why the Commanders wanted him. I mean, the guy knows separation down the field. It helps the run team. I mean, you get Jones back, you get that separation going again. The offense is back on track. I just think it's a good deal, and I don't think people understand his worth when it comes to that. I mean, look at how the Patriots struggled in the Super Bowl. They couldn't get anybody open. Alec Pierce is the guy to get down the field. So that's my first thing, and I think also people forget about Ashton Doolin. With Josh Downs. I mean, I think the receivers are good, and I think it's going to be a good season for the Whiteouts. My second thing is, real quick, man, I know that you already said the text line, but I would love to see Crossroads live, and if I need to do anything to get to that concert, I will film myself during Crossroads to get those tickets, man, and say, hey, JMV's the man.
So the Clapton thing is what you're looking for here, huh, Jake? Huh?
Well, I'm going to throw it in there. I've been waiting in the Walgreens parking lot for over an hour, man, and I'm going to do my best. So
I tell you what, let's I got to form, I think, even more of an opinion. This is not dictatorial around here. There's more of an opinion I'll have to get, but I tell you what, James, take his information. And maybe because of that, what Walgreens parking lot have you been sitting in for over an hour?
Noblesville. I'm over here in Noblesville, Walgreens parking lot.
I'll be honest with you. I'm just glad 1075thefan.com is coming in where you're sitting in the Walgreens parking lot this afternoon. Hallelujah. So, yeah. No.
Yeah, man, awesome.
All right, James, I'm going to put you on hold, Jake, and James is going to take your information, okay?
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
You got it. Jake, a decision is forthcoming. I don't normally recognize that or do it because it's unfair to everybody. And people are going to get pissy about it. But there was a lot that was put into that. And I think I'm just happy because 107.5 is actually coming in up there. Hopefully it is for you too. And really, it should be a good day because it's not raining or anything. It is so true. So, Jake, let me get the executive board opinion on that. To make sure that nobody's going to be all butthurt. Because you know how much I can stand for butthurtedness. Really about 5 seconds and then I have to tell somebody to be quiet. JMV, did you know Hunter Abner from Bloomfield, Indiana? Is he better than you as a Greene County legend? Well, listen, he won a sectional at Bloomfield. I do know this. So Hunter Abner was a bigger dude in high school that knocked down some threes in their championship game. That's Bloomfield over Cloverdale on Saturday night in the sectional championship down at White River Valley. I know this because the father of Blake Neal, who is the all-time leading scorer in Greene County, who is one of the top players in the state, his dad, JB, who was the coach a year ago, if you remember, in Martinsville, is a longtime friend of mine and went to Eastern Greene. I believe he played collegiately at Longwood, and that may have been before Longwood became Division I. and Longwood is in Virginia. That was JB, the father of Blake Neal. But Hunter Abner, I do not know, and I don't think I know his family. But the reason why that he is now kind of in the lexicon, if you will, is because Barstool brought him up as America's favorite hooper now for the month of March, knocking down threes. And I believe both WTHO, or TWO, I should say, WTWO in Terre Haute and WTHI in Terre Haute had video of him knocking down threes. And that got loose on social media. And now you have the legend of Hunter Abner knocking down threes in the Bloomfield championship win. I believe it was Cloverdale. And the former Bloomfield standout, high school-wise, Joey Hart is their head coach, who was formerly the head coach, if you remember, of Linton, and I believe was the head coach of Linton when they went to the state title game with his son a handful of years ago. He is now the head coach of Cloverdale. But Hunter Abner, that is some good, solid video. White River Valley and the Switch City Gymnasium is the equivalent of the West Gym at Center Grove. They look exactly alike. Now, good, and congratulations to everybody that won a sectional championship. And you guys, Carmel and Fishers, man, one humdinger of a game did you not see? But around the state of Indiana, both Friday and Saturday, it is spectacular. The legend of Hunter Abner, who also gave a great interview after that game, too. Just seems like a really fun-loving, enjoyable high school kid that looks like he's about 35 years old. True. Yeah, I did see. JMV, did you see the contract that the Raiders gave Kwity Paye? Yeah, in case you did not see that, I did see it too. Kwity Paye, it has been announced now 3 years, $48 million, $32 million guaranteed for the former Colts first rounder. Yeah, that's a wow. Quick break, we'll come back. You guys, for a final time, the latest on free agency and the NFL. Stephen Holder, Charles Arbuckle, Dan Graziano, all on the show. Podcast 107.5, thefan.com. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. That is, you heard right there, the voice of the legendary Jerry Baker, Trey Lyles, Tyler Weidman. That's Tech and Lake Central going back to 2014, the 4A state championship game. Tech 63, Lake Central 59. Weidman and Lyles, of course. Weidman played collegiately at Butler. Lyles, he was a five-star guy that went to Kentucky and is, as of right now, a longtime member in the NBA. The Jazz, the Nuggets, the Spurs, the Pistons, and last played in the NBA a year ago, his fourth season as well with the Sacramento Kings, that being Trey Lyles, and that's just a part of what you're going to witness. We're going into the regional round of the state tournament coming up this weekend. Want to make sure you're a part of it? Here's what you do. IHSAA.org. Find out where the schedules of your favorite games might be, and make it a point to get there and check it out. The sectional championship games, outstanding. More to come in the regional. Find the schedule and find the game or games of your choice. IHSAA.org. Now,
The Ride with JMV.
We're putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way. We're on a mission from God.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I will tell you this. There are a variety of ways you can listen to us, and thank you for just dropping that in regarding the thoughts on the signal sometimes, the challenges of that. I don't want there to be a challenge. I want everybody. The club is open for everybody here. And I don't want to make you have to work your ass off to get into the club. That makes sense to you. And it's funny, we had some consultant in here a couple of weeks ago, and I brought up that very thing. And you know how sometimes I roll my eyes about anything radio consulting. Yeah, please come in and tell me my business here. Yeah, I've been doing this for 25 years here. I may have a little bit of an idea. But he was cool enough. But if you want universal entrance into the club, prioritize, you got to make it easy. And then sometimes I don't think it's so easy. But whatever means you utilize, whether, as you're talking about right here, it's, the 2 FMs, or if you're doing it digitally, or if you're watching inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live, or as I mentioned, the YouTube channel is up, and they got us playing out in the hallway. Please do. In fact, if you're struggling to find us, let me carve out a consistent path for you. Love to do that. And then in turn, show up out at a live event like Joe's Grill coming up on Friday, and you know what goes on there. But, yeah, we have to, everybody's got to get in. It's not like my Indiana State parties where all the chicks got in for free and then the dudes had to pay. I just didn't want a big Boy Scout meeting like all the fraternities had over there. All right? Only all the dudes, if you don't want to pay, go to the fraternity parties with all your bros. But we try to make it easy as possible for you. And hopefully that is the case. All right. Phones to close. Alec Pierce, 4 years, $114 with the Colts. Michael Pittman Jr. traded to the Steelers. Neville Gallimore signs with the Bears. Arden Key signs here, the edge rusher with the Colts. And the Colts lose Kwity Paye, 3 years and $48 million to the Raiders. That's all gone down over the course of the afternoon on this show. We'll continue to keep you updated, but we got phones to get to. Big Dave's up next at 239-1070. Hello, Big Dave.
Hello, sir. How's your eyes doing? Have you found a place to get them fixed at?
I have not, Big Dave. You got some answers for me? I've got to get something done. My eyeballs need a little helper. Yes.
Okay. Eye Specialists of Indianapolis. It's off of Keystone.
Yes.
They're good. They're doggone good. I went from 2800 to 2020.
Yeah, I think, and I'm always up for excuses. I think my jumper sometimes is a little foobar because of my eyesight. I got to fix it. One more time. What's this play called? What's it called again?
Eye Specialist of Indianapolis.
Eye Specialist of Indianapolis. I need some good solid vision.
Singing. You will be singing 3 days. You 20/20 vision, both eyes. They take great care of you. No pain.
No, beautiful.
Lots of pretty women in the place.
Well, I'm telling you what.
That makes it even better, doesn't it?
Big Dave, this sounds like one tremendous plan you've ironed out for me right here. Thank you, buddy.
Once we get you in, I'm going to get you in pro basketball. We can't get you in football. We'll get you in basketball. You're going to be JMV all day from 3.
Big Dave, I still have time, man. There's still enough time.
You do. Like downtown Freddie Brown, where you get the name JMV all day from 3. You got the moniker, and you're ready to rock.
You got it, pal. Appreciate you, Dave. Thanks for the heads up. Well done, Dave. That was a weird sound there at the end, though. That sounds like the sound I make when I miss a jump. Paul, close this show out with a bang, pal. What you got?
Hey, man. Hey, the guy a long time ago, I know Jake Red Hot Chili Peppers. I know that guy the other day was making a comment about you losing weight. I was going to stick a Red Hot Chili Pepper up. I won't even say I'm on the phone because you're a good man. But, on Zaire Franklin, that's too bad. I mean, I wish they'd get somebody back to on defense to help them. I mean, as far as the linebacker goes, I don't know what they're going to do about that. I don't know on that. But, anyway, the Clapton things, I'm going to try and get out and see that. Hope you're doing good. Try and get out to Joe's. That's a great place. But, hopefully the Colts will get somebody. I don't know what they're going to do about Zaire Franklin, but hopefully they'll, linebackers and stuff, get something going. But, hey, man, you have a good one. You're a hell of a man, bud.
Paul, thank you very much, man. I was going to let Paul go until the end of the show right there. You had me at Red Hot Chili Pepper up a rear end of somebody that made fun of my weight loss. By the way, one of those people would include my mom. Once upon a time, she doesn't any longer. Oh, now she goes, maybe I should do that. Now, well, wait a minute. That's a change of heart. Remember initially what you said about me? No. We got to help her out. All right, Alec Pierce, 4 years, 114, back with the Colts. Michael Pittman Jr. traded to the Steelers. Arden Key, edge rusher, 2 years, $20 million with the Colts. Kwity Paye gone to the Raiders. Neville Gallimore gone to the Bears. We'll continue to follow the story. That is Daniel Jones. Championship week, a couple of games at Corteva Fieldhouse. Up at the State Fairgrounds. Horizon League tonight. Couple of semifinals coming up in the West Coast Conference with ranked teams tonight. Got you covered tomorrow at 3. Have a great evening. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.